That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Ramey. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today. Shout out to Humans. Always love the intro on That Sober Guy. Humans Music. Check those guys out. You can find more podcasts, more resources, and also contact us by going to thatsoberguy.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. All the links from today's show will be in the show notes, so they're easy for you to find. It's St. Patrick's Day, baby. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Oh, yeah. I got a question for you. What do the three leaves of a shamrock represent according to Irish tradition?
Oh, man.
What are the three leaves of shamrock? Bill Bailey, you got to hold on a second. You can't answer that yet. I'm wondering if you know, though. And then the other one, what's the oldest pub in Ireland? The oldest pub in Ireland. I want you guys to think about those for a couple of minutes. And we're going to get back to those in our St. Patrick's Day trivia. St. Patrick's Day. I wanted to give a little background really quick before I introduce Bill here. St. Patrick's Day, or the Feast of St. Patrick, it's a cultural and religious celebration held on March 17th. The traditional death date of St. Patrick, who was the foremost patron saint of the great Ireland. And St. Patrick's Day was made an official Christian feast day in the early 17th century and is observed by the Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, and Lutheran Church, as well as many others across the globe. And it commemorates St. Patrick and the arrival of Christianity in Ireland, as well as celebrates the heritage and culture of the Irish in general. So historically, the Lent, if you're familiar with Lent, 40 days, you give up all kinds of different things, sacrifice, and historically restrictions on eating. And I thought this was interesting, by the way, that's why I'm pointing this out. Restrictions on eating and drinking alcohol were lifted just for today, just for St. Patrick's Day, which has encouraged and propagated the holiday's tradition of alcohol consumption. And so we do know that, St. Patrick's Day is definitely a party holiday. And I bet my buddy Cormac from Ireland knows both of these. So big shout out to Cormac. He's been following the show since the beginning of That Sober Guy way back in the day. So just wanted to give a little love to my Irish Connect homie out there in Ireland from the States too, man. Big shout out. We're going to have all these answers, or the answers of the first two questions I asked, as well as some more questions when we go over the St. Patrick's Day trivia. But first, let me introduce a great friend of mine, my friend Bill Bailey. Bill's the producer and host for Todays Boondoggle Podcast on Domain Cleveland Radio. He's also the father. He's also a father and a veteran and someone who loves hardcore punk rock and heavy metal music. That's why him and I, one of the reasons, in addition to being sober, him and I get along very well. So Bill, dude, it's so great to finally have you on the podcast, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. So we were talking about before we went on, yesterday I turned the big 5-0.
Woo!
Yeah, so my birthday.
That was supposed to be that one. A little applause.
St. Patrick's Day. Nice.
Yeah.
And back in the day, it used to be hell on my liver, man, for these 48 hours,
Man, crazy.
Celebrating the birthday. And then, when we were drinking, we could come, oh, hey, our team lost today. Our team won today. We didn't need too many excuses to throw down back in the day. But
there's always a good reason to drink when you're drinking. Why not? You're happy, you're sad, you lose, you win, whatever. Especially on St. Paddy's Day when you can get the old pub crawl. I think that's a thing too, if I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say Cormac told me that calling it St. Paddy's Day is very annoying. So if anyone knows if that's true, I'm going to refrain from that right now. St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to try to stick to that. Maybe it must be an American thing. I don't know. Have you ever heard anything about that?
Yeah, just St. Patrick's Day. I didn't hear anything about him being upset about Patty, but
we're upset about everything these days. We can't say anything anymore.
Excuse to drink and add, green flavoring to it or whatever. So, I'm still kind of sticking with drinking the green poison today. I got a Shamrock Shake. It's disappearing when I lift it out here. Let me put it in front of me, you know. I figured get with the theme. And like I said, I used to have all kinds of attire, and I don't have anything green anymore. So I found my old Cheech and Chong, you know. So don't read too much into classic. It, folks, but you know, it's green.
Hey, who doesn't love some Cheech and Chong, man? I think I have an old record of I can't remember which one it is. But dude, those movies, the comedy, man, definitely some classic stuff there. So I dig the jersey. And dude, I just want to, number one, say thank you for coming on the show today, bro. I'm excited to hear a little bit about what you got going on, about today's boondoggle, about your walk in sobriety with God, all those things. But first, I just want to start off by saying, appreciate you coming on, but happy birthday to you. I know you turned 50 yesterday, if I believe that's correct. And then also you just recently celebrated like 14 or 15 years sober, man. So you got a lot going on right now, and I just wanted to congratulate you and just say, well done, man.
Thanks, man. It's, you know, it's good to, you know, the month of March is, you know, a big month for me, because March 1st is my sobriety date now. And, you know, so I was really like, you know, taking on the challenge, knowing that my birthday was just around the corner, and Patrick's Day was just around the corner, you know, but 14 years now. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So you're a busy dude. You have a lot of things going on. You're staying connected. What's going on in the world of Bill Bailey today? And, how is it so much better than it was 15 years ago or 14 years ago?
Oh man. I mean, you know, what's funny too, is just like, you know how sometimes you hit, like, you know, like if you're like working out and you hit a plateau and you kind of just stay, you're not, you don't feel like you're improving. You're not, you know, making any gains or whatever.
Yeah.
I noticed that even with my sobriety for a while, and you get what you put into it as well. You know, there was, you know, I got 14 years of not drinking, but there's probably plenty of years of being like the dry drunk, because I really wasn't putting work into a program. And then I start putting work into a program, and then you start, you know, God will start putting certain people in your life, and you know, you'll still kind of hit some of these plateaus. Like me and you have talked, you've been on my show before, and talk about our food thing. You know, it's like, here we are sober, but we still struggle. I mean, here I am screwing up with this. I'm making an excuse to justify a Shamrock Shake on St. Patrick's Day. You know, I don't need this. I'm already feeling like crap halfway through it. I'm on a run right now, hitting the gym 5 days a week, and I'm doing very well with it. But you know what I'm not doing very well with? I'll crush like 6 cupcakes in like 2 days, bro. I finally had to just submit to it and just go, you know what? I'm just going to do the best I can and try to eat as great as I can. And I'm not going to be perfect at it. So have your Shamrock Shake, bro. Good for you. Yeah. And you know what? That was like key for me. Like this past year and a half, I think I've experienced so much more growth, not just in my recovery, but in my surrender, and acceptance.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got a lot of mutual friends that I definitely am grateful for coming into my life via Zoom. You know, a lot of them I haven't even met face to face, like me and you haven't met face to face yet. You know, but it got to the point where it's like, you know, I started with a personal trainer before COVID back in 2019. I was, you know, sick and tired of being sick and tired with my weight and how my body felt, even though I wasn't drinking, and I needed that accountability like we do as addicts, you know. And I would make gains, but my mental still wasn't into it enough where I could be grateful or accepting, you know, like people compliment me and then I didn't know how to take it, and then I'd self-sabotage and go backwards. And I finally, like this past year, just was just like, you know what? I'm not going to win every day. Every day's not going to be like, you know, I'm not going to be I can't compare myself to the younger guys that I'm doing jujitsu with. I can't compare myself. I'll compare myself out of the room to a lot of people. Yeah. I'm just going to try and be better today than I was yesterday. You know, I'm just going to try and battle me. And there's days where I'm going to get up and be like, I just don't want to today. And that's all right. Yeah. You know? And once I started like surrendering to that and accepting that, you know, I mean, like I said, just turned 50 yesterday. You know, I know people that are in more phenomenal shape older, but you know, it's taken me to this point to get to that where I'm just like, it's all right. And when I did that, dude, I've dropped, the weight has come off, because it's like I was stressing myself out mentally over like trying to keep up and go every day and grinding and pushing through. And then when I just started accepting and letting go and surrendering, it's like I'm down to, I started out back in 2019. I was probably around 280. I'm down to 220 now.
Nice.
Wearing old, buying jeans that, you know, I haven't fit in, you know, since, you know, active duty and stuff. It's nice. It's a nice problem to have.
I love it, man. Hey, I love that. That's a good transition into this, because that was actually the next thing I wanted to ask you about, man. Just number one, thank you for your service. You're a veteran. I know you put in a lot of work in those days. Tell us a little bit about that, dude. Like we've talked a little bit, and I've heard bits and pieces of that in your story, because I've heard you share a few different times. But was that a big part of your life in the sense of when you were still drinking? Was that a big part of it then? And then how did that kind of take you to where you're at now?
Yeah. I mean, you know, like even before I joined the military, you know, it's just like, you know, my dad was a World War II Marine, and, you know, he had PTSD before they knew what it was, before it was cool, you know? And I grew up around that, and it's like, you know, and I had a loving, supportive dad, but some days, he just couldn't handle his emotions and anger so well. So it's like, you know, being a child, you're kind of walking around in fear, you know, I don't know, am I doing good enough today? Am I doing the right thing? Am I, you know, and that fear kind of like going into high school, feeling like, am I good enough? Am I adequate enough? Am I, you know, are people going to like me? How do I, you know, would turn into gallows humor. Like usually, well, I'll make fun of myself. I'll beat everybody else before they make fun of me. But as I, you know, would go out to parties and try and engage with people, I discovered alcohol, you know, and it gave me that like confidence. I was like Bottle Bill or whatever in high school, they called me, because they'd be drinking their beers and I'd have to go for something harder because, you know, I really wanted to, you know, fit in and you to like me. But it really took off in the military, you know. There's a culture, especially I was in the Navy, you know, I mean, there's a culture in all the military with, you know, we work hard, but then we play hard, you know, afterwards. But, you know, as we've discussed before in our program, you know, alcohol is but a symptom for some of our other deeply rooted, you know, issues that we struggle with. Like I said, I grew up in that fear world and that self-confident, you know, low self-confidence world. And then in the military, you know, there's at 19 years old, I saw my first fellow sailor die in front of me. And it was, you know, I mean, I was on an aircraft carrier. I worked on F-14s. And if you're on the flight deck of aircraft carrier, there's a lot going on. You know, we're launching aircraft, we're bringing aircraft back, we're, you know, starting up the engines. Watch out, don't walk in front of the intake and get sucked in. You know, it's like everything head on a swivel, you know, and you like walked heavy, you know, because anything could knock you over or whatever, you know, if you weren't expecting it. So you kind of like walked heavy. And I just set my aircraft off and I'm walking back to my line shack, you know, where the department I worked in to go below deck. And one of my shipmates was coming out and walking by, and I like nodded to him, you know, and I'm walking, and the next thing I know, he goes rolling past me and over the side of the ship, you know, some jet exhaust caught him. He didn't steady his legs and he got knocked over and blown off the side. And it was just turning into night operations. So dark, falls off an aircraft carrier, and this dude just, you know, and it was like slow motion. And then, you know, then there's that, well, maybe if I dove for him or something, you know, maybe I could, you know, all that stuff plays in your head. And so then, you know, they never were, they sent search and rescue out. They saw him floating there. They dropped a life ring and a beacon. And then they waited to land 2 more aircraft that were still up in the air before they went to retrieve the body. And when they went to retrieve the body, he was gone. And that really messed with my head. That really played with me like, man, dude, what if that was me? It's like, we don't, that low self-worth went like even lower because it's like Uncle Sam don't really care about us. They care about those $1 billion aircraft up there,
Wow.
But that one life, and,
did he die? Did he drown or did he die from just falling from the jet exhaust or did they ever say?
I mean, they never retrieved the body. We don't know. He could have been conscious when he fell over.
Wow. Damn.
Or the fall could have killed him. I mean, it's kind of a high.
So they just never found him.
They found him, dropped a beacon, and then they got out of the air traffic to land aircraft. And when they went back, and now that years have passed, it's like, okay, I understand that, the aircraft carrier has to maintain a certain speed.
Yeah. Because
these jets are not landing on an airfield. Mm-hmm. They're landing on a short thing. So they got to maintain a certain speed so the aircraft can maintain a certain speed, and I get all that. So it's like, if they would have stopped, to retrieve the body, then it would have took whatever to get back to that speed. And so I kind of get it now years later, but at 19 years old, man, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Well,
especially
and I'm laying in my rack that night, just imagining, because that's when I discovered I've kind of got one of those empathic people. Like I can't watch Jackass because I feel my balls getting kicked, Yeah, it's like weird, So I'm laying in my rack that night and I'm like, man, if that was me floating out there and I'm conscious and I'm watching my only source of light and life just float away from me and leave me behind, Yeah. So when we finally started hitting the ports, there's a lot of guys going, I'm going to go check out the Vatican. I'm going to go check out these historic sites and, take in the culture and stuff like that. I'm like, where's the red light district? Because this hurts. I don't know how to handle what I'm feeling right now. I'm scared. So, where are the hookers? Where's the alcohol? And that's where I really started taking off because I just didn't know how to feel what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Then,
wow. At 19, huh? You said you were 19 at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I could see how if you literally had just passed him, like you said, that could have, been you. It could have been anyone, of course, but you were right there. So I see how that would probably mess with your mind a bit too. Like why, like if I would have been, 5 seconds later or something, that could have been the same spot. So, I guess, you're definitely dealing with some PTSD and some trauma and stuff and having to see that and then just go about like your normal, all right, here we go. Like,
yeah. I mean, knowing now, if I knew then what I know now, I probably would have been like, I need to go talk to the chaplain. I need to go talk to somebody. But the mission had to happen and you didn't want to look like a pussy or whatever, and all that dumb shit that plays in our head, and as time went on, because guys can't be afraid, so we react in like other ways, like anger or false bravado or whatever, put up this front. And so I didn't process my feelings appropriately then. And then it was just like, well, YOLO, I guess, like the kids say today, I'm just going to go buck wild and not care, because this is before, kids and responsibilities. And this is just like, okay, this is how we go hard, man, Yeah. Totally. And that carried over even when we came back, when we were home, it just carried over into my rolling into, civilian life and stuff too,
So basically that continued through your 20s and most of your 30s, just that drinking, heavy drinking and just suppressing a lot of feelings, I assume, and not dealing with a lot of things because it's just easier to drink about, which is what a lot of us
and I mean,
with.
like I said, I just turned 50 yesterday, just celebrated 14 years, the beginning of the month here. So yeah, even into my, 40s,
Yeah. Wow.
I'd say, um, yeah, yeah, but late, yeah. I mean, it was, it's funny too, how things come full circle, because that was like my very first deployment ever, at 19 years old. And then my last deployment before I ended up, retiring in 2012, my last deployment was in 2008. And this time I had two children at home, this time, I had a significant other, this time I had reasons to come home and live for. I was still, when I would still go out and it was a dry country. So it was like God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, but we did get like a few days of R&R somewhere where you could drink. And of course, I drank, and then I come home. My welcome home party was a blackout. But it was also like, I'm hungover the next morning after my welcome home party, and my oldest daughter had turned 8 years old while I was deployed on this last deployment. And she was just like, Daddy, I don't want to see you like this anymore. And I was like, I don't want to live like this anymore, because I had enough sense. I dried up enough while I was over there that I felt better. I became more productive. I missed the hell out of my kids. So I would volunteer to stay busy. So I didn't have downtime to miss them. And I knew that no matter what, I had to come home. And I also knew that, because I saw a couple brothers go home and flag drape coffins, that if that had been me, what legacy was I leaving behind with my kids, And I knew I wanted to come home and be better. So the seeds were planted. It didn't happen immediately when I came home, but shortly thereafter, my last deployment is when I got sober.
Yeah. Would you say that like you started to feel like you had something to live for and something to, and not that I guess maybe we're confused sometimes when we're going through life, and especially when we're numbed out to feelings in life from alcohol. And then it's like you have your daughters and, you're trying to have a family or whatever. And like, it's different than it was when you're 25, you start to realize that there's things that are important to you in life. And it really is a driving factor between that and just pure desperation. I think, at least for me, that's what it was like, of wanting to make some changes,
Yeah. Like, and it's like, looking back, now these years later sober, I had plenty to still live for back then, just because I didn't have kids or a relationship. I had two parents that loved me unconditionally, and, I no longer have my dad. And thankfully, I got sober before he passed and was able to, say all the things I needed to say to him and have that bond and that relationship with him before he passed. And I got my mom still here today. She's, I'll be seeing her tomorrow. We're having a little birthday party for her 50-year-old baby,
Nice, man. That's
so, cool. They would have been devastated had something happened to me, back then. So it's like, I did have things to live for. I just didn't appreciate those things as much back then when I was running and gunning in my addiction, because I was very selfish and self-centered then. So
we have a lot of veterans, a lot of first responders, just a lot of folks who listen to this show, in that kind of ballpark. What would you say, man, to another veteran or to somebody who, has out on the front lines, let's say, like who might be struggling, or they don't know where to turn to, what to do? Would you have any advice or tips or encouragement you could share with them, Bill?
I would say it's all right to not be all right. And it's all right to go talk to somebody, man. We don't have to be, that culture of throw some dirt on it, and keep going. Yeah, I get it. In the middle of the mission, we got to finish the mission, in the middle of the stuff, we got to finish the stuff. But during that time of decompressing, you do not have to do that alone. And there's nothing weak or wrong with going to ask to talk to somebody, about it. I wish I would have went and saw a chaplain back then. Who knows? I look back I'm grateful I was able to get my 20 and retire from the military, but I look back at how much more I could have, you know, and it's like, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda, whatever back then, you know, what more I could have achieved. But everything happened for a reason. That was my journey. And maybe, it was so I can share with the guy coming up now, you know, this is what I did wrong. This is what I wish I would have done right. You have the opportunity to do that, you know?
Yeah. So after, just celebrating 14 years, maybe you can just share a little bit about what life's like today for you, man. I mean, I know it's not perfect for any of us. And I think that's the misconception that a lot of people think, oh, what, it's perfect. It's like, no, it's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was 10 years ago for me or 9 years ago. And
I had a perfect, example of that happen to me yesterday. And I can't get into too much detail, but, I'm 50 and I'm throwing myself a 50-year-old birthday party. I've gone to my friends who have turned 50s birthday parties, and their spouses and significant others have thrown their parties for them. So then at first I was struggling with throwing my own party because I'm like that loser's limp, that voice in my head telling me what a loser I am because I don't have anybody, and I'm that, and the other. You got to throw your own party. What kind of loser does that, And then I was just like, then I started like reframing, because what we've been taught here and with gratitude and everything, it's like, dude, I get to go to concerts and not have to ask permission. When my buddies come through town on tour, I don't have to run it through somebody else. I can go to shows and spend time with them. I can, I have some freedom that I'm healthy, healthier than I've been in a long time. I'm looking pretty damn good, if I do say so myself.
You are. Good job, man.
So whatever God has for me, it seems like though lately I've been like, there's still something about me that's like a radar or a magnet for red flags. Women with red flags, but now I see them now. Back in the day, it was just like, you got daddy issues and mental health issues? Cool. I'm all in,
Let's
now
go.
It's just like, all of a sudden, like, I'm like, no, that's not how I roll anymore. I'm in a more positive frame of mind, and I don't need you dragging me into your drama.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some exes that have come back, and I was just like, man, I remember like, the good stuff we did together. Wow, that was fun. But no, it really wasn't fun because there's still too much drama and stuff attached to it. So I had this recently, this one just kind of like giving me some shit about, and like almost accused me of something, like she's talking even when I was at my worst. This is not the type of behavior I would take part in. Even when I was drinking, and I've always been pretty respectful to, my whoever I'm dating at the time. I mean, wasn't always faithful and honest, but I was, I don't know. But anyway, so I had that going on, and then I'm like, then I get a text from my daughter, the oldest daughter, who's 22 now, telling me, "Happy birthday, Dad. I love you so much." I could read it or whatever, but but it was just like, I'm so proud of you and everything you do for us and our family. And, I get to read that today because, and take that in, because I know that's who I am today.
Yeah.
And these red flags that, I'm not going to let them pull me back into that mindset, because everything I have today is like, I try and be better today than I was yesterday. And my daughters are huge components in that, but also, that's such a huge blessing. It's such a huge gift to wake up and read that, Yeah. The first time I ever felt unconditional love for another human being, and I stopped being such a selfish and self-centered person, was when I held my firstborn daughter for the first time, man. Tears of joy, like, wow, this is somebody that I would die for. But at the same time, it's like, well, live for them. This is somebody I want to live for, And I didn't get sober right away when they were born, but that seed was planted then,
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's so good to hear, dude. And I just want to tell you too, like, thank you for for being open and honest about that little voice up in your head that says, you know, like you were talking about your birthday, you know, I got to throw my own party. And like, number one, who cares? Like that, like you get to have this awesome 50th birthday. So number one on that, which is great. Like the gratitude, and you mentioned that too, but like, I feel like there's so many dudes who struggle with that same thing. And I'm speaking for myself in that as being one of those dudes who has that little voice up there, regardless of what the situation is, that says like, you're not good enough. You're too much. You're not enough. You're this, you're that, you know, and it can be very, very tough to deal with, obviously. And it also, can be exhausting sometimes too. And I always come back to, you know, kind of like what you said, gratitude, trying to flip it, but also knowing that like there's a world view, there's a human view that we see ourselves in. And then there's seeing ourselves and seeing the world, seeing our spouses, our friends, our kids through the lens of God. And that's two totally separate things. And I'm still learning in my own walk on that, on what that looks like, but it seems to grow a little bit every day. And I just wanted to say thank you, bro, for pointing that out and being so honest about it, because I think it's really tough for a lot of dudes to admit that and actually talk about it. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I've realized in this journey too, the more transparent and vulnerable that I'm willing to be, my healing and my growth springboards. Yeah. You know, so much from that. And, you know, I want to keep getting better, man. I want to keep living this life. You know, I was just like, I mean, I'm reflecting on 50 years and there's a lot of good and a lot of bad, but I never thought I'd make it to be 50, man. In my 20s, it was just like, you know, I was just like, whatever. I thought it'd be part of that 27 club or whatever, you know, not that I was like a celebrity, but I was in my head, you know, rock star in my head or whatever. But, you know, here I am, I'm 50 years old. And it's just like the things that I used to like the comparison game. Like I look at my friends with their family and their nice big house and their successful business and this and that and whatever. And I used to be, man, I really screwed up. But I'm like, man, the stuff, I can't put a price on the stuff that I have today because I'm sober, and the friendships I have today, some of the same circles me and you walk in. I never thought I'd have these guys calling me up and telling me congratulations on another day sober, calling me yesterday to wish me happy birthday and stuff. These are some dudes that, you know, I've been a fan of. And now I can say I'm friends, man. You know, great, with dude. Some of these people, it's amazing.
Yeah, I definitely got a lot to be grateful for, man. Every day, you know, and I love just trying to stay in that mindset too. And I think you do a great job of it. And every time we've talked or been in a meeting or whatever, dude, you're always bringing people up and big smiles and all that, man. So I appreciate it.
I just wanted to say too, real quick though, because I was, like I said, I was doing a lot of reflecting on, you know, turning 50. And, you know, I've been involved in like the music world for a long time, did local promotions and stuff like that. So I've known a lot of artists and bands that still that aren't in our world today, you know, and these people that I used to, you know, I always like, man, I wish I had, you know, that many women coming after me like this dude does, or, you know, all these other things in it. But I see like all the things that it looks like they have everything, and they're still some of the most miserable people because they haven't discovered this yet, you know?
Totally.
And it's not about material things, man. It's about, you know, like, you know, my girls wanted to take me out to dinner last night, but it was like by the time they came in after getting off work, it was too late to eat. But I was just like, well, let's just spend some time together, you know. And we spent some time together, man, and that's all that mattered. Little things like that, you know. That's the important stuff today, you know. It's not like you don't have to buy me a big fancy dinner. You don't have to, you know, just give me that time, man. And you know, taking that time to send that text like my daughter did, dude, it just meant the world to me. And then they're both like going through like old pictures on their social media and then posting these like elaborate write-ups about how awesome Dad is, man. And it's like, I couldn't get you guys to hang out with me before, and now you guys love me. This is awesome.
Dude, those are the things that actually matter. You know, those are the things that we remember. Those are the things that are important to us. And to your point of, you know, the chasing, or the women chasing, or the houses or the cars, or I think anyone who's experienced some sort of spiritual connection to something higher, for me, it's Jesus. For me, it's, you know, God, Jesus, however you want to put it, Holy Spirit. Like, I searched for so long for so many things to fulfill the void that I felt inside of my heart, you know, inside of me. And who am I? Why am I here? What are we doing here? How, you know, why? A lot of whys, you know. And dude, God has been the only thing that has had even close to fulfilling that. Like, and it's the greatest feeling to let go and to be in that, and to know that all of that other stuff is temporary. It's impermanent. It will never last forever. But God, eternal life, that will last forever for me. And I 100% believe that. And like I've been saying this a lot on the podcast lately, and just in conversations, but I finally came to terms of being willing to look like a fool for Jesus, willing to look like a fool for what I believe in. And so I'm either like batshit crazy or I'm 100% right. And there's no in between, and I just don't care anymore. You know, and there's a lot of freedom in that.
Exactly.
And it's not me throwing my crap on anybody. I don't care if anyone wants to talk about it. Let's talk about it. But like, it's just like, trying to fulfill all of that with stuff in this world is 100% impossible, at least in my experience.
And what's funny too is, like, you know, I've had this talk with a few people, but you know, it's like, you do your podcast, man. And, you know, like I've shared this with you before, man, you know, it's like, I appreciate having your podcast available for when I'm on long drives or something, man. And I'm in my head, you know, it's like throwing on a meeting, you know, for me, you know, and it pulls me out. But, you know, my podcast for me, you know, doing Today's Boondoggle, that's become a passion of mine too, a new purpose. It's been a healing for me, because, like, you know, that low self-esteem and that anxiety and that social anxiety and stuff that I used to numb with drugs and alcohol, you know, is I step in out of my comfort zone and I have conversations with people. And the more I do it, you know, the more it's helped me. And it's become like my finance guy, the guy, you know, that runs my, you know, 401ks and my investments and stuff like that, you know, which I always tell him, I'm like, dude, those are just numbers. And we're seeing right now that stuff's going to get wiped away. It don't matter. You know, I took some of it out and I bought myself a car for my birthday. All right.
Hey,
that's my one material thing
I
did for myself.
Yeah. Good,
but he's just like, man, you know, I've been listening to your podcast and I really enjoy what you're doing. It's like, you should find a way to monetize that and stuff like that. And I'm like, then it becomes work, you know? And it's like, I mean, it'd be great if something, I wouldn't turn down anything that came my way, you know, to do what I love to do, what I'm enjoying to do, and get paid for it. But right now, the payment for me is just the relationships I'm forming, the conversations I'm having with people, and to have other people that I never thought would listen and get something out of it, man.
What's
you know?
Give a quick, so for those out there listening and maybe they want to check out, which I would definitely recommend to do, the Today's Boondoggle podcast, like where would they find it? Give them a quick little rundown of what it's about in case folks want to check it out.
Well, it's on, you know, all the podcast platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Google. The website is domaincle.com. Like I said, back in the day, I used to be a concert promoter guy, music fan. You know, I liked things back then. It was just like, there was an angle I was working, you know, It was just like, get me in for free, you know, bring me backstage so I'm cool and I can meet the groupies and drink your alcohol and, you know, and we're good, you know. But over the years, you know, you build these relationships, even when I was in it for the wrong reasons. And when I got out of that and I got sober and I started working on myself and getting better, I was just like, I still have all these connections with record labels. I still have all these connections with people in the music business. Why don't I do a podcast now? Why don't I start talking to these people, pull the curtain, and not just, hey, when's the next album and how's the tour going and all the basic questions that you have to ask for the PR stuff. Get to know their background, their upbringing, what kind of adversity have they experienced. I'm open about being in recovery.
Yeah.
And because of me being open about being in recovery, a lot of these people have felt comfortable to be open about their struggles or where they're at.
Yeah.
I'm open about my mental health. I'm open about my anxiety and PTSD and stuff like that. And a lot of these people have felt comfortable to open up about. So you're hearing from some musical artists that you may be a fan of, like more of, what their struggles are. Also, because I'm a veteran, I like to have other veterans on to share their stories as well. Same things, like, what was something you experienced that, civilians might not understand? What's some hopes you have for our country today that you were willing to die for, and people are real and raw and they share, what hurts them about what's happening in our country today or what motivates them, the things that we're all getting so butthurt and divided over, like, are things that we just like do, we used to, that didn't mean nothing to us because we all wore the same uniform, So I try and have just like real conversations with musicians, with, veterans, with athletes, with people in recovery. Like you said, me and you became friends, and I've had you on, and just sharing stories that of hope and healing and growth, that you might not get on a regular thing. It's because of that. I'm not putting the dude on blast because, he shared on my podcast and he's open about being in recovery. Our mutual friend, Renee, I had him on, he shared, he felt comfortable and opened up about his struggles. And then he invited me to start joining his Zoom meetings, which opened the door for me to have relationships and friends with, so many people I never thought I would. Like the angles before to get on the guest list and get into, into the know and into the cool for myself. I'm being invited openly now as a brother in recovery when they come through town, and it's just like, and we're keeping each other sober. Like there's people that it's like, man, I wanted to ask you all these like questions about this in the music world or that in the music world, but we're sitting there talking about our children and our, life stuff. Like, stuff, and that's so much better. Yeah. Well,
you do a great job, man. And I appreciate, all the work that you're doing, and you're very consistent, which I think is amazing, especially for those out there who are looking for support and a little entertainment and some fun and stuff too. And so we'll put all those links for you in the show notes too, for those out there listening. It's, if you want to follow Bill and the podcast, it's at Todays Boondoggle on Instagram, and then www.domaincle.com. You can find it all there. And of course, I think you said that all the major platforms, Spotify, iTunes.
Yeah. And if you can help us out and subscribe to our YouTube channel, I'm trying to build that thing.
Oh yeah.
Up,
what's the YouTube? I'll put it in here.
It's the YouTube, and what is it? Today's Boondoggle 216, I believe.
I'm just writing it down right now. So
but
yeah,
it's I've had some episodes on there where we've talked about things that the YouTube police weren't happy about. And, then I go on timeout and it gets strikes, and I think it kind of takes you out of the, so I'm trying to build my subscription back up. I mean, a lot of those ones that YouTube didn't like, I do have a Rumble channel. So out there as well, but,
we can put that in there too.
There's a couple that I think I've got to share with you that I think you would enjoy, that,
we can put the Rumble in there as well too. So just shoot me that afterwards, and then I'll throw it in there. But we got about 10, 15 minutes left, and I want to have some fun, being that it's St. Patrick's Day today, and do some of this St. Patrick's Day trivia. Are you ready for that, Bill?
Yeah, I'm ready for it, but I'm feel embarrassed because it's like I should know my St. Patrick's Day history. I mean, I would Bailey's Irish Cream, man. I mean, I used to have like a naughty pickup line on St. Patrick's Day for that. But I won't get into that. It's not who I am today anymore.
I had some good, well, Jameson is an Irish whiskey. That would be the one Irish whiskey that I used to drink quite often. And I'm very glad that I do not rely on Jameson anymore or drink Jameson anymore. But it was good back in the day, I got to say.
Oh yeah,
times
yeah,
for a sip, but not a whole bottle.
What was beautiful too, being of having some Irish in my 23andMe DNA and all that is when we were coming home from our last deployment, one of our first layovers was Ireland airport.
Nice.
So we all had like a Guinness and stuff like that.
Well, that's actually one of the questions here. So let's start with that. Let me fade down these tunes here. Okay, so wait, it's down here a little further. Okay, here it is. Okay, so here's the first question, Bill. And so what we'll do is we'll give you a few seconds to answer, and then we'll see how many you can get out of 10. And we'll just have some fun, man. We're celebrating, and there's nothing better than celebrating it with a sober mind, a sober heart, and not having to rely on booze anymore, man. So congratulations to you. I'm going to congratulate myself on that because I'm very happy I don't have to do that either. Okay, so first question here, St. Patrick's Day trivia for Bill Bailey. How many pints of Guinness are consumed on St. Patrick's Day? How many pints of Guinness would you guess? And I'll tell you this, it's more than 1 million. Okay. This is worldwide. So it's more than 1 million. And just to give you a ballpark estimate, and then you can take it from there. Wild guess. And you've had Bill, by the way, for everybody listening, Bill has had I didn't give him any preview of any of these questions. So this is totally off the bat. And so we got you, man. You're going to do great.
Well, no, that's the thing, though. It's like I feel like I'm letting down my Irish heritage, and Oh,
you're not. These are totally random, and I don't know how anybody would know most of these, to be honest. Unless you're
the two we asked at the beginning, I don't know. I know.
I didn't know either.
It's over 1 million pints. I mean, let's see. Is there an Irish lucky number? Like, would it be 7 million? I don't know.
Okay. That's a good guess. And I do like there would be a lucky, well, okay, here, I'm just going to tell you this. Is that your guess? 7 million?
Yeah.
Okay.
7 million.
Not too far off. It's 13 million. 13 million pints of Guinness,
Lucky
which is
13.
insane.
Right.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah, Lucky 13. I always love that. Lucky 13. Good song right there too. Okay, let's go on to the next one. The oldest pub in Ireland. That's why I said at the beginning of the podcast, my buddy Cormac from Ireland. I bet you he knows some of these because he actually lives in Ireland, and if he's listening to this, he's probably yelling out the answer right now. Any guesses on that? The oldest pub in Ireland?
No clue.
It's called Sean's Bar. Sean's Bar. Yeah, Sean's Bar. And I don't know if you pronounce it Westmeath or Westmyth, but Sean's Bar is the oldest one. Okay, I think you might know this one. According to folklore, what is a leprechaun's occupation? What is a leprechaun's occupation?
Gold accountant or something? Accountant is gold?
Accountant is gold. It's a shoemaker. A shoemaker.
Oh, wow. All right.
I thought that was interesting too. Okay. All right. Next one, Bill. What cheerful Irish greeting is often associated with St. Patrick's Day? What cheerful Irish greeting? I know you got this one.
Top of the morning.
Top of the morning to you. Oh yeah. There it is.
All right. I got one.
You got one. Top of the morning to you. It's always my favorite. This always reminds me of my good buddy who is no longer with us. His name was Alan Stevens. And he just a great dude, funny dude, man. And he would say, Seamus. I'd walk into the building because we worked together, and he'd say, Seamus Ramir. That was his Irish version, I think, of my name. It's great.
Nice.
Just reminded me of that. Yeah. Okay. Next question, Bill. What's the average number of drinks consumed per person on St. Patrick's Day? What's the average number of drinks consumed per person?
Man, I mean, what's sad is it's like we feel like, because everybody wants to be Irish on St. Patrick's Day, but
think average though too. So like somebody from none to like the worst drinker on St. Patrick's Day who's
that's what I'm saying.
30.
Like even the average is like above what their average is, because you feel like you got to go a little that extra.
Yeah.
You got to do that little extra on St. Patrick's Day, you know? Yeah. And so I would say, you know, like how when we got pulled over, officer, I only had a couple, you know, but
give me a number. Give me a number.
Six.
Okay, that's not too far off. It's 4.2 is the answer. It's 4.2. So I could see, somewhere right in between there. The average number of drinks per person, 4.2. Probably 4.2. Green. Yeah.
Yeah, because you hit that point where you can't finish.
Exactly. And just think of the like.
Point two is where it starts coming back up.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, you just gave me a flashback, bro, of like a verp of vodka. Like I would verp and then wouldn't want to waste it, so you'd swallow it. That's so disgusting, bro. Oh God, that's sick. All right, next question. We got a true or false one here. All right, the first known St. Patrick's Day parade occurred in Ireland. Is that true or false? The first known St. Patrick's Day parade occurred in Ireland.
Something's telling me it's false.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
You are correct. It is false, Bill Bailey. The answer, which was very surprising to me, the first recorded known parade of St. Patrick's Day parade took place in St. Augustine, Florida, of all places.
Wow.
Interesting, right. Huh? I know. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I just because I always heard like, you know, the Irish, you know, they just kind of like laugh at us, you know, because they're just like it's just a kind of it's kind of like their holy day, but it's not like, you know, oh, let's throw a parade and all that. But it's just like a regular day over there, I guess, you know, for them.
All right, next question. What U.S. president was the first Irish Catholic to be elected to the office?
Wasn't that JFK?
JFK, baby. But man, you're doing good. You're on a roll now. You're on a roll. JFK, John F. Kennedy, first Irish Catholic.
That's why they took him out.
Yes, it could very well be. And because he was going up against the military-industrial complex, but that's a whole nother podcast we can get into.
Yeah, exactly. And the Federal Reserve and
all of it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. And he was very open about that. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay. Next question. Oh, you got this one. This is in the bag. You mentioned this earlier, I think, even in yourself. So, what meat and vegetables dish is a trademark St. Patrick's Day meal?
Oh, I'm going to go get me some here in a little bit, man. Some corned beef and cabbage.
Corned beef and cabbage. What's that? I think you're that's 4 in a row, I think, if I can count correctly, something like that. All right. You're doing pretty dang good. All right. Two more, and then we're done. I like this one. This one was I didn't know this one when I read it. I said, well, that's interesting. So why do we wear green on St. Patrick's Day? Why do we wear green on St. Patrick's Day?
That I don't recall like what their reasoning was other than, you know, it's like, leprechauns, green, Lucky Charm guy, green. You know, I don't know like where that originally like came from though. The green, the clover. Yeah. You know, maybe green of Ireland.
Okay, there you got half of it. That's half of it right there.
The green grass of Ireland hills or something. I don't know.
So here it is. You got half of it. So why do we wear green on St. Patrick's Day? So green is most closely associated with Ireland's lush green landscape. To your point there, Emerald Isle. And then also the other half of that, of why green is the color for the Irish and Ireland, it's the country's desire to distinguish itself from the British in the 1700s. So they were like, screw you, Britain. We want to be green. We don't want the red, the white, the blue. We want the green. We're going all green. This is us. So we want to stand out and like piss off, basically. So yes.
Nice.
Good stuff. I didn't know that. That was pretty interesting, I thought. And I was a little bit okay. So here's the first one. This is my favorite question out of all of these that I learned. This was the one that we started the podcast with in the very beginning that I asked. So last question, Bill. What do the 3 leaves of a shamrock represent according to Irish tradition? What do the 3 leaves of a shamrock represent according to Irish tradition?
Um,
So think religious here. So we're talking about Irish tradition. I'm just giving you a hint. So
like Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
yes, yes, that is it. You
All
got
right.
it.
Nice.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, baby.
I was almost going to go
cool.
Hallmark and say live, laugh, love, but
Yeah, live. And that could have worked, but I like the Holy Trinity much better myself.
oh
so,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, good stuff, man. That was fun. I learned some Irish knowledge and facts there, so I thought that was kind of fun. So thank you for playing that. Appreciate it, Bill Bailey. We got to take us out with a little Irish music here. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
But yeah, and then fun things, that we just gave an example of fun things you could do sober to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I don't recommend, if you're health conscious, getting a Shamrock Shake. I just had one and I'm feeling a little down,
It's the
because
sugar.
I wanted to justify that, but it's just, my body's telling me, no, you don't need to do that no more. I could have made probably a keto, like healthy version if I look it up online.
Yeah. You definitely could. They have a healthy version or some sort of keto or some sort of version for pretty much everything these days. And a lot of the things taste pretty dang good too. I mean, I guess you do get some ones that are pretty terrible. So you got to be a little bit conscious, but
partake in the corned beef and cabbage. Now, I mean, I don't know what the nutritional value of corned beef is, but from what I understand with cabbage, it's good for the gut.
Yeah, I've heard the same. Yep. Sauerkraut.
So I'll definitely do more of I used to do the sandwiches and the Reubens. I loved Reuben sandwiches, but I'm cutting back on the bread and all that stuff. So I think I'll just do the corned beef and cabbage today.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Any other ideas for how to have fun on St. Patrick's Day? I know I jotted a few of them down, like go on a run, go on a walk, hit a meeting, play some golf.
This morning, I stuck to my normal routine. I hit the gym this morning. I did the infrared sauna, so I felt like I sweated enough out to have the Shamrock Shake to justify that today. Yeah. But, I don't know. I don't recommend this for all people in recovery, but I've been one of those guys where it's just like, because I do still attend a lot of concerts. I love music. I can go to places where there's alcohol and people drinking, and I have no desire. I have a water and I'm enjoying the tunes and I'm enjoying my company and the conversation now today. Not everybody can do that. So I don't recommend putting yourself in that position unless you go with a sober buddy, go with an accountability partner, and if you feel flaky, then just tell your friend and then you guys leave,
Yeah.
But you don't stay somewhere where you're not comfortable. But for me, like, I could go to some of these places today where everybody's having a good time and just I can grab me a food and maybe I'll have a Sprite with a little bit of green food coloring or something in it or whatever,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Make it fun. But still, there's definitely lots of things. Lots of things to do and to be conscious of, and really just an opportunity to have fun and not feel like dog crap the next day and be hungover too. That's always a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, dude,
and just, I mean, it's accountability. It's surround yourself with, other like-minded sober people, and, you'd be surprised, what fun you could still have,
Yep.
A lot more fun.
I just want to tell you thank you, man, before we wrap up today, dude. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on. It's always fun, dude. I always enjoy hanging out and chatting with you. Any last pieces of advice or anything you want to share in the next 2 minutes before we wrap up?
Yeah. Well, first I just want to say, Shane, I feel the same way, man. It's like, we definitely got to do it more often because, we do connect on so many things. And I think it'd be good that we, keep in touch. A lot of wild stuff going on. And as concerned dads, just being better and what we can do to be better for our families. And like you said, man, being crazy for our higher powers. That motivated me, you saying that today, because I don't know, man, nothing's promised, man. I made it to 50 and this could be it, and I'm learning to be all right with that.
Yeah.
Good. I'm learning it's one day at a time, and, I make the most of these 24 hours, and I had a friend, I'm sorry, I know you only gave me 2 minutes, but had a friend that's going through some depressing things and was talking to me last night about some stuff. His uncle just passed away and he hasn't had the best relationship with his dad. And he's really hurting for his dad right now, who's lost his brother, you know? And I'm like, dude, today's a new day, man.
Yeah.
You know, you go talk to your dad. You're being vulnerable for me right now, man. You don't think you can be vulnerable for your old man? You know, it's like, do it while he's here. You know, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to do that with my dad while he was still here, you know, because there was a lot of hurt and there was a lot of fear at the beginning. There was a lot of resentments that I held on to because I focused on the negative. And then in the later years, getting sober and getting this gift of sobriety, being able to be there with him and talk about those things and talk about the hurt, but also talk about how much I appreciated what he taught me. And I know I'm a slow learner, Dad, but I was listening, you know, and got to have those talks with him, you know?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of dudes who struggle with that, with their dads and relationships with their fathers. And I know I'm one of them. Sounds like you are as well. That'd be great to do like a panel style of those one day, just where we just like kind of focus on that and talk what, you know, from experience and share some things. Cause I think that would help a
great idea. Cause we got a couple, you know, other sober brothers that are dads we're all learning how to, you know, what we didn't have and what we're trying to give to ours.
Exactly,
you know?
Bro. Exactly.
And that'd be, I like that. So count me in on that one for sure.
Yeah. We'll take a little note of that and see if, see how that works out coming up in the future. But
get our buddy Buck in.
That'd be great. Maybe Static would love that too. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
dude, that'd be awesome, man. Well, good stuff, man. I appreciate you coming on today, Bill. And you can follow Bill at Todays Boondoggle, also www.domaincle.com. Make sure to go there and check him out. Bill, thanks again.
Yeah, that has all the links too to all the social medias and stuff like that. That's the main website. So
perfect, man. Perfect. Yeah, we'll put it on there. It's all in the show notes, so it's easier for you to find. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope something spoke to you. Share the podcast with a friend. You can connect with us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. Find all our resources at thatsoberguy.com. Peace, love, and respect, and keep your blood clean.